Coming up next, Concentric cats on The Amazing Art Show. Hi, and welcome to another edition of The Amazing Art Show. I'm your host, Angie Woolsey. This is our 100th show. So this is a big day. Woohoo! So please join me. We are going to be doing our 100th project, and we are going to be doing concentric cats today because we are using concentric shapes. So we are also going to be using symmetry a lot with our project today. So let's go over what you're going to need. You are going to need some construction paper, and color really doesn't matter too much. And my examples are in one color, and what I'm going to work on today is in another, so you can kind of see. You see a little bit of the paper, but not too much of it. So don't stress if it's not like your favorite color in the whole wide world. So you're going to need like a 9.5 by 11 and then 12 by, I think this is 18. So kind of the two different sizes that you normally can get construction paper. And then you're going to need oil pastels. You will need regular glue, scissors, pencil just to draw things out. And then we've used this before, and it is like just a glitter paint basically. This is just like my own little version that I've made here. So we're going to be using some of that. You don't have to have that if you're out of it or you don't have any. And then also same thing with the slick paint. Not a have to have, but if you would like to have kind of a situation. All right, so that is it. Okay, so so as I was doing this project, I really didn't have one particular artist in mind. I actually kind of had several floating around in my head. And so I kind of was taking and borrowing ideas from different artists that I've seen. And you guys know how much I love cats. And so I thought we were gonna do a cat project this time. So we're starting out with symmetrical shape. So remember, symmetrical shape is going to be the same on both sides. You typically have a line of symmetry, and it mirrors the image on the other side. So in our case, with our piece of paper, you fold it in half. This becomes our line of symmetry. And so you are going to be drawing on the smallest piece what you want your cat's head shape to be. And I will tell you this, on mine, I typically make the top part of the heads just kind of pretty circular in shape, or ovalish in shape, but then I typically try to kind of make the chin come down a little bit. You could make it like really come down into a point if you would like to, but you know, just some kind of an ovalish kind of a shape. So we're not like, you know, we're not doing perfect ovals here, so kind of keep that in mind. So I am going to do kind of a shape that comes out. I'm going to bring it almost to the end, the edges, the sides, and make sure when you start drawing that you start on the line of symmetry and coming out to your flappy edges. And then I'm going to bring it on down to the bottom, and this is where I'm going to get a little bit of a chin action going. And then I'm going to cut my shape out. And you want to save your scraps, because scraps are going to be what you're going to use to make your ears with and your tail with. So save your scraps. And if you really wanted to, you could also just cut out some shapes to go on there. It would be pretty cool too. All right, so my shape looks kind of like this. So this would be kind of where my chin area is going to go. If I don't like that, if I don't want it to be quite that pointy, I can just fold it back together and just do a little bit of trimming, and it'll give me a little less of a point there. I kind of like the point though. And then for the body, you're going to get your longer sheet of paper. You are holding it vertically, so it's going to be long ways, and match up your corners. And then for this, you're not doing like a super detailed body. This is just kind of a general overall kind of shape. So you want to think kind of like a bell, like a really tall bell. So I'm going to come up here. I'm a little ways away from the top, and I'm going to just come down almost to the edge, but not quite. And I'm going to drop this down. And then when I get almost down to the bottom, I'm going to do kind of like a little bump out that goes over to the corner. And that's going to kind of represent feet of my cat. And so I'm going to cut that out. Make sure when you're cutting that you're really holding your pieces together well, because if you don't, it will kind of flop around and then your sides won't be perfectly symmetrical. Okay, so I've now got the body shape. You can kind of see how it looks like the bell, how it goes out right there, and then the top, kind of comes down like that. And so this will be the body. And we'll put that over there. And then I've got my scraps left over. And so with this, you really only need one tail, so you don't have to do it with your paper folded anymore. And what I like to do is I kind of use this L-shaped scrap and come in, and you're going to use this part as well. So whatever you make, you want the tip of the tail to be pretty close in size to that width. It can be a little thicker or even a little thinner, whichever. All right, so I've got the tail. This is a very long tail, and I will probably end up trimming it, especially, I might even trim it some more. Okay, now, on my piece of paper that I was using for the head, I end up with these little triangular shapes up at the top, which make fabulous ears. So we're going to do, you could draw it out if you want to first, or if you want to just do kind of a little pointed kind of ear. Make sure you're holding both of those pieces at the same time because you want them to be symmetrical, so you want to have two. And then usually what I like to do once I have my shapes down, I like to kind of make their ears look like they're kind of fuzzy. And so I usually will kind of put some little zigzag kind of cuts in there just to kind of give it some personality. So I just put a little cut kind of like that. All right, so we're done with scraps unless you want to use some, just to cut out some shapes and add to your work. And so now we're going to get to the coloring part, adding color, the fun part. All right, so I'm going to start on the body, and you want to pick a color that is light and something that isn't going to mess up other colors, because you're going to be putting other colors on top of this color. So a really good one to start with is white. You could also do like a light blue, a light pink, yellow even, but yellow tends to kind of want to change things quite a bit. So on both of mine, I ended up doing white, and I really like how that looks. So I'm going to actually do this one in white as well. However, on my example that I'm working on now, my paper is blue. On my other examples I'll show you here at the end, it's black. So it gives a little bit of a different look. And I broke my oil pastel open, took the paper off, and I'm just turned it on its side. This is not like how I would typically have you color something in, but we're actually wanting that paper underneath to show. So you're just going to kind of coat everything. I'm getting the crease of the table in my design here. And I'm going to run out of white. That's not good. All right. Just barely enough. And I still have to do the head. Okay, so got that done. All right, now concentric shapes are shapes that, they start out, you might have one that's small and then there's medium, and then larger and larger and larger. So it's basically the same shape that just fits inside, you know, the larger shape. So you want to pick some kind of a shape. You could do circles, you could do triangles, you could do any kind of shape. You could do hearts if you wanted to. But you're just picking some kind of a shape, and you're going to be making it concentric. So, and the other thing, when we're doing color this time, I would like for you to think about possibly doing cool colors versus warm colors. So oil pastels are so awesome because they blend so well. So if you stay within your warm family versus your cool family, you don't have problems with colors not blending well and looking nice together. It's certainly not something you have to do, but it's just kind of a little hint to kind of help you if you're not quite sure like what colors to put together. Think about staying in that cool family versus you know, your warm family. So I've got my cool colors. So I've got greens, blues, purples. You could actually throw pink in there, but I think I'm actually going to save pink and put it with my warm colors because this pink is a little bit purpley. And then, so I've got oranges, reds, and then I can also throw in my yellow as well. So I kind of would put them. So here are my family groups. So any of these will look really great together. Any of these will look really great together. But you could also kind of do the opposite in the fact that you could use complementary colors. So, you know, remember those complementary colors, they complement one another. So you could put, you know, those together. How we're doing the concentric part of it, I feel like it works a little bit better if you kind of stay within the family groups. So that's just me though, but you can kind of sky's the limit. All right, so I think I'm going to do some rectangles. So I'm going to start out, and I think I'm going to do purple first. And this part, there's like no wrong or right way to do it. It is just kind of eyeballing it and seeing kind of where you want to add shapes and where you don't. Keeping in mind that the head will eventually, you know, be going up here. So you really don't have to do too much more up there as long as you know it's going to be covered by the head. So kind of keep that in mind as you're working on where you're going to put shapes. And so I'm kind of going to do, I'm going to do purple, and then I'm going to come in with a blue. And I'm bumping them right up next to each other. And then I'm going to come in with a lighter blue. I thought this would really look good with the blue background of the paper. And then I've kind of got choices. I could fill it in blue all the way. I could come in with white in the very center. I could do like a gray in the center. So kind of figure out what you'd like to do there. I'm sitting here trying to figure out what I'd like to do. I think I'm going to do gray. So I'm going to go with gray in the middle, just good neutral. And you're staying with that shape. So this is a great way to kind of illustrate concentric shapes. So it starts out large, gets smaller, smaller, smaller until you're inside the shape and you've got your smallest one inside there. And you can do this with any shape, like I was saying. So now the only thing you really have to do is just go in and you're going to start putting different rectangles here, there, and everywhere. You want to turn them all different directions because you want to give your work a lot of variety. So I kind of like to do all of the ones that I'm going to have going more vertical. I kind of like to do those first, and then I come back and do horizontal, and then I come back and do diagonal. And so, and you want to vary the sizes because you don't want it to be boring and have all the same sizes. And if you get too many, you know, kind of medium size, it makes it really difficult to come in and add any really large ones because you're kind of out of space. So I kind of like to do medium, then I'll kind of do my bigger ones, and just kind of work from there. And keeping in mind that you're going to be coming back in a little bit, and you're going to be doing, you know, possibly your other I think I'm going to go right through the middle here, your other family of colors. So keep that in mind as well. And you really want to keep whatever pattern, whatever color pattern you come up with, you want to kind of keep that consistent. You don't have to. I just think it kind of looks more appealing to the eye when it's not quite so chaotic, because you're going to have a lot going on here, to kind of keep that color pattern the same. So I am just going to keep going here, working on my colors. And I think I'm going to switch over and I'm going to do my other color family. I really wanted to throw some pink in here, so I'm going to. And I think I'm going to start doing some of these diagonally. And you'll notice I am not getting like super precise with my shape. If the lines are exact, this is very kind of organic in nature. Just go with it. So you're basically creating a pattern using color and shape, and you're going to be doing that on your piece. And on this one, I think I'm going to come back in with some pink, because I'm going to kind of bump it up next to that red, and it's going to mix a little bit anyways. And I kind of want to put some white in here, so I think I'm going to do that too. So maybe this is going to be my pattern for this particular piece. So I'm going to keep going on that, and so I'm going to kind of put this one to the side. You're going to do same thing on the head, but before you get to all that, I want you to kind of draw out your design first. So you really don't have to put too much on the ears, so don't worry about those. But on your face, what I would like for you to kind of think about is you want to pick kind of where you want to arrange everything. So I'm going to kind of just make a few little marks. Like I know I'm going to put the nose right about in there. The mouth will end up coming down off of that. It'll end up kind of somewhere in here. And then from there, I can kind of decide, okay, I think I want my eyes to be kind of in here. And you can actually kind of do a little sketchy line there, because when you cover all this anyway, it's going to be all right. So for your noses, your little kitty noses, you can kind of come up with whatever you would like to. On one of mine, I did a little more like a heart kind of a nose. And then the other one that I'll show you here in a minute is a little more, it's a little more of a realistic kind of nose. And you want eyes to be really nice and big. And we're trying to keep things symmetrical, so that's kind of our goal. Doesn't have to be perfect, but try to kind of keep things. So I like to kind of look to see, okay, the eye, the corner of the eye starts just a little ways away from the nose, so I can give myself a little guideline there. And I can see that it's going to go, kind of give myself a couple little guidelines. And I am drawing a lot darker than I normally do, because normally I would kind of sketch it out first. But I'm trying to draw kind of dark so you guys can see it. And so I'm coming in, I'm going to do my eyelid. I'm going to do whatever color I want the cat's eyes to be. Here, I'm going to do pupil. And for this project, just to kind of add some fun to it, we're going to put a little reflection in the cat's eye. And also on the pupil, remember how we've talked about before how the cat's eye can be, it can be a circle, kind of like humans' eyes, but it also, the pupil can be it's like an oval, but with two little points on the end. And so you could do something like that as well. So they don't have to be exactly like mine. All right, and then I know that cats don't really have eyebrows, but it's kind of fun to add them anyway. So I like to kind of do some kind of a little kind of crazy line that comes down, and I like to kind of hook that in with the nose. So kind of going in here. And then I'm going to come down from the center of the nose down to that little point that I kind of made reference to, and I'm going to bring this out, and it's kind of up to you how big or small you want to make the mouth. Mine has got a secret. My cat looks like it has a secret to tell. All right. So then from here, now that I've kind of got all this drawn, you would go back and be doing that same thing. So you would start out with the white. I like to kind of get it right up next to my pencil lines without going over it, so that I can still see it pretty well. And then you go in and you're going to start adding color to all of your other things from that other cat. Okay, so I have got my face here, and I wanted to point out with you, like, one of your last kind of steps, that looks really weird. It's like upside down. I need to do legs and coming out this way. It'd be like a flat cat, splat cat. Okay, so you want to come in with like a black and kind of go in and go back over your pencil line so that everything stands out. Really go around the eyes really well so that they stand out really nice. If you have done, like, let's say instead of using white for your background color, let's say you chose something else, you might want to come back with like a white oil pastel around the eyes or a color. So it doesn't necessarily have to be black, but I want you to think of some way to kind of accent with a darker color, especially around the eyes, nose, mouth. And I also came back in just to kind of tie everything together. I came back in and I added some black into each of my concentric shapes. And then you're going to, I also want to point these out to you really fast. Here are my ears. And I actually came in, I did my ears kind of like with impressionism lines, so it's very sketchy, linear kind of marks with my oil pastels. And I want them to look that way because I want them to look, pretty furry. So you want to do those as well. And then my body's already finished. I've not done my tail yet, but I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second. Okay, so now comes the part, if you want, you don't have to, but if you want, you can get the glitter paint, and you're going to keep it very transparent. So you don't want it to be globby at all, which that's why I'm kind of adding some water to mine, because mine's looking a little globby. And then all you're going to do is just brush it over just your shapes, not anything else. And what it'll do, if you have the kind that I have, it's going to be perfectly clear, but it's just going to have those little shimmeries in it. And you can do them on the face, you can do them on the body, but you don't want to do the whole cat, because then you're using this to kind of draw attention to certain parts of your cat. So you don't want to do the whole thing, because then it really doesn't draw your attention. Your whole cat's just glittered. So you want to pick your spots for that. And same thing like on my face, I would come in and I would be adding it, around in these areas where I've got my shapes. There were a couple of kids that said, well, what about, can I do it on the nose? Can I do it on the eyes? And we kind of talked about it and kind of came up with the fact that if you do it on everything on the face, that wouldn't be a good idea. But we did think, because glitter is so fun and it's the most amazing thing in the whole wide world, that it would be a really good idea to add some on the colored part of the eye, because you know how cats' eyes are like super sparkly, and that's why they're awesome. And so we added some kind of glitter and sparkle to the cat's eye, and it looks really, really nice. So I'm not sure if you can really get those sparkles on there yet, but it has to dry first. But so you're going to do that, and then let's go ahead. I'm going to actually, I think I'm going to move this one over as well. I'm going to pull in my other one, and then we can talk about tails too. All right, so here is my other one. you can kind of see a little bit better now how that glitter dries. It's very sparkly but clear, so you can see all of your shapes. You can also see on this one that instead of doing the rectangles, that I did circles, so I did concentric circles on this one. And I also, on this one, instead of it being quite so just the linear part, I actually came in and made some zigzag kind of marks on top of some of my my colors that I had. Still concentric shapes, it's just got, this one just has some kind of design work on there. So you're gonna come in and you're gonna glue your ears on. You wanna glue them to the back. So that means that if I was gonna be gluing this one, I would be putting glue down at this part, and then I'm gluing it to the back of the head, okay? And then you have to kind of make some choices at this point. You can do the head perfectly straight. You can tilt the head, which I like to do because even though my cat Tada does not look like this cat, she's not quite this colorful, she always gives me this look like, huh? Like she's not quite sure, because you know I talk to her all the time, and sometimes she looks like she really understands what I'm saying, and then other times she's looking at me like, what? So I think I'm gonna do my head kind of crooked because that just reminds me of my cat. And then tails. The tail, you've got all kinds of choices on your tail. On this one, I kind of did it striped. I thought it kind of looked nice with the other designs that I had. You could do it kind of starting the same way we did, where you color all of this in solid and then you come in and you could do concentric shapes on that as well. Somebody in the class, they actually decided they just kind of wanted to leave their tail black, and that's fair. So it's kind of up to you. You have your own preference on how you want to do the tail. And when we glue the head on, whichever direction you plan on gluing yours, remember you don't need glue all the way up to the top, you just need it kind of down on the bottom. And I'm going to kind of put mine right in there. And then I talked to you a little bit about just kind of another option if you wanted to. And I've got slick paints. And one thing that you can do with these it's lots of fun because it adds lots of really nice texture. You've already got some texture with the glitter, and you've kind of got some implied texture, at least here with my lines that I've got here. But you can also come back in and you can add some of the slick paint to kind of, you know, accentuate some of the things you want to. So I was kind of thinking I would come in here and be doing, kind of add some zigzaggy lines. And this paint is so much fun. Like, I could do this on every project. And so I'm just gonna add kind of like a little zigzag pattern to kind of go along, make it look kind of fuzzy. Like my cat is very fuzzy. Come in there. You could also, oh, I like how that looks. You could also come in and you could add to some of the other, you know, designs that you have here. And remember how I talked to you how I did this kind of a zigzag line in here? I could come in here if I wanted to and add zigzag kind of on top of that other zigzag. And these are kind of like one of those things you just have to kind of practice working with them. And I brought blue, so I might want to kind of keep the blue more monochromatic, and so maybe do blue zigzags on top of here. One thing I will tell you when you're using these, that you don't really squeeze a lot. You just squeeze very easy, or you get a lot more than you bargained for. So let's go to the quote for today. Live from the wise voice in your heart, and each day will blossom. Laurel Birch. All right, that wraps us up for today. Thank you so much for joining me for our 100th show. Now go out and make some amazing art.